affordable housing. And one day after school, I had a pretty hard day after school, and I came home, and my mother was on the couch, and she was just like, on chemotherapy, and she had a bucket next to her, just like a bucket of blood, because she was on chemo, so she was just vomiting all the time. And the lights was off, opened up the fridge, there's no food. My father had recently passed away, and at this time I had to be about 16 years old. And I'm already having a rough time making new friends at school. It's like a lot of drama going on. And I'm just like, yo, I'm stressed out. And I remember before my dad had died, 6 months prior to that, he says, CJ, I'm leaving you to be the man of the family. And so that was an enormous burden that was not put on me. Like, now I have to be the family. And so I came home that day and I just saw the conditions that we were in. And I had a cousin who was involved in, selling drugs. I don't know, I think he was just like weed and other stuff as well. And so I'm like, you know what? He had asked me if I wanted to get involved with what he was doing because he heard about my family was going through. I'm like, you know what? I know my parents told me to never get into that type of activity. And my dad made me promise to him before he died that I would never do stuff like that. But you know what? I think he might have to. So I picked up my phone. I went out my room and I got my phone and my hands is like shaking. And I'm like, and I got really angry. And I was like, no, I'm not going to do it. Instead, I'm just going to kill myself. And so I took the belt from around my waist and I tied it around my neck. And I began to look for something to hang myself from. So I went in my closet and I saw something that I could potentially do it from. And I got a stool and I went to go step up on this stool. And when I went to go step up on the stool, something came like a rushing wind and just hit me in my chest and put me on my butt. And I just began to cry and I began to weep. And I cried and cried and cried. And I don't know how, but when I looked to my left, the sun was just was streaming in through the window. And I don't know how, but my Bible was just sitting in the door jamb right on the floor at that very moment. And that was my God moment. I'm like, yo, this has got to be God. And I crawled over to my Bible and I grabbed it and I said, God, I'm not going to do this. I'm going to give my life to you. And I prayed to God. I'm like, God, listen, I want to give my life to you. I'm not going to do this, but there's some things that I need. And I told him, God, I need a car. I need a job. And I want my mom to be free from cancer. And I'm not trying to say that God always, he will give you what you ask for in his will, as long material things. But because of my faith and because I was in a time of true need, I wasn't asking out of luxury. God fulfilled every single one of those things that I needed. Within a week, I went to church. I told you about that. I got a car, I got a job, and my mother got a call from her doctor saying that she was now in remission. This is within a month span. All this stuff happened, and God had fulfilled every single request that I had. God had fulfilled it, and that just was like, yo, God. One, my Bible was there at that very moment. Two, I cried to him. He heard me, and he delivered on every single one of his promises. And I wasn't no Bible thumper. I didn't know a whole bunch of scriptures. I didn't go in that prayer quoting scriptures. I said, God, this is what I need. And God heard my prayer.